We're nearly to the end of August, and that means that some crop farmers are getting close to harvesting time. Of course, though, as the weather is getting a little bit cooler, though, as we're getting closer to September and the fall. With more on this crop report coming up here, we have always Matt Struthers.
Thanks for having me.
Matt, we in our previous discussions talked about how some people in the south and certain parts of Saskatchewan were starting, but that was earlier on in August. Has that number increased as more people have started harvesting, or are we still kind of waiting for a bunch of people to start harvesting and kind of waiting to more September time?
No, harvest is well underway for many producers in Saskatchewan, mainly in the southwest and west central regions. Off the top of my head, the southwest is already at about 45% of its crop harvested, so they're making short work of the crop out there. So areas like the southeast and east central and up into the northern regions haven't quite started yet. Just a few crops being pulled off there now, but after another couple weeks of warm weather, certainly we'll be seeing combines roll out in those fields.
You're saying as we're getting that more warmer weather, it's been really good so far as I could tell that warmer weather has been sticking around. Has that warmer weather just been completely good, or has there been some more inclement weather, like some really strong rain to cause some flooding or some hail that has affected any producers so far in August?
Looking at this past week, we've had there's some large rainstorms in the east central region, right around the Yorkton area, and of course that's just going to push back crops a little bit longer and delay harvest for those individuals. But overall, the majority of the province this past week saw some hot, dry weather, and that allows for good harvest conditions. You can just keep going, but it also pushes crops that aren't quite ready yet to start turning down and to start to ripen up. So very good to see that, going forward, you mentioned we're at the end of August here and we're starting to roll into September. We're really hoping that, one, it doesn't start hailing out of nowhere. And two, we really hope an early season frost doesn't hit us here and ruin some really good looking crops out there.
Grasshoppers have been a conversation all throughout the summer. Have they been slowing down? Have there been good pest control, or have they just been, because of this very hot weather, are they just kind of an unnecessary evil at this point?
Fortunately, there's still a large thorn in many people's sides out there. And now that we're getting into harvest, producers are just trying to get that over with as quick as they can. And they're just hoping they can finish out harvest and a good frost will come by and do its job and get rid of those grasshoppers. Whereas in the east, they're hoping for no frost and they just want some warm weather to get harvest going. But yeah, grasshoppers have been really, really bad for many producers across this province, typically in the more drier areas. And then now they're starting to kind of spread out and move around now that harvest has begun. They're looking for food sources. So hopefully we can kind of break this dry cycle. Hopefully Mother Nature's got one in for us, and she's going to change it, and we'll have a couple more wet years or something and break that population, because right now that's the biggest driving force. Is just the conditions are dry and it's favorable to those grasshoppers, so we just need some really good rains to offset that.
Now that lots more producers have been harvesting, have we got a better idea of kind of where the yields are at for producers? And as well, we've been mostly talking about the cereals and the grains and whatnot. How have hay crops and like green feed crops been doing so far this year as well for Saskatchewan producers?
Well, I'll start with the hay crop. So many producers in the eastern half of the province saw some really good looking hay crops, and they're feeling pretty confident for their winter feed supplies. Whereas some producers in the west central and southwest, in those drier areas, extremely dry areas, they just didn't get the rain that they needed, and their hay crops were very poor. Some were lucky, some got those timely rains when they needed them. But overall, the yields that we saw out of the west central and southwest are just not great, and producers are already looking for alternative sources of feed. I know a few producers were even hauling hail in from Manitoba, so they're already on that. Whereas on the crop yield side of things, now that the southwest and west central have started, we're hearing some anecdotal yields come out of there. Some sound very, very poor. Some a little closer to average. Nothing crazy good. Whereas we're anticipating in the eastern regions and up into the north that yields will be closer to average or even better than average in some areas that are exceptional. So we'll know more in a couple of weeks. We're going to do another evaluation of yields coming up here once a few more of the regions start their harvest operations.
That's a pretty solid sounding. It's definitely a little bit better than last year in terms of yields for both hay and crops. And so that's definitely good to look forward to. We will look forward to talking to you once again, Matt, as the time goes on, and maybe we'll get a bit of a better look at the Saskatchewan outlook for crops for this 2022 season.
Thanks for having me.